My family has a small vacation home in Colorado. My parents are avid skiers, which is why they bought it. The home has been in our family since before I was born. It's over 40 years old now, and it shows its age, but my dad kept it maintained as best as he could. This story happened about 15 years ago, when I was 8 and my brother Josh was 11. We were in Colorado during a blizzard. The snowfall was intense, so of course Josh and I want to go play outside. The property has a huge open area surrounded by woods, plus a dead-end road that slopes downhill toward a few other big properties. It was the perfect place to play hide-and-seek or snowball games. Josh and I put on our snow gear for our custom snowball fight game. We would each build a fort anywhere on the property, hide a giant snowball, the jewel, then try to steal the other person's jewel and return it to our base. Josh chose the nearest neighboring property. The house was almost always empty. We'd seen a car there maybe once out of every 10 visits, so we often played games on their property too. He ran down the road to set up his fort. I was supposed to wait until he blew the whistle to start the game. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. I figured maybe I just couldn't hear the whistle in the storm. Deciding to go find him, I chose to walk down the road instead of going through the woods. Walking into a forest during a blizzard at 8 years old was terrifying. When I reached the neighbor's driveway, I looked through the trees and didn't see Josh. His fort was there, but he was nowhere in sight. As I approached it, I suddenly heard a woman's voice shout, "Excuse me, are you looking for your brother?" I turned and saw an older woman standing in the doorway of the neighbor's house. I told her we were just playing a game. She called back, "Your brother isn't here." I was confused, but I walked toward the house. As I got closer, I noticed someone looking at me through an upstairs window, only half their face visible under a black beanie. Then I saw something else, another trail of footprints leading to the front door. They looked like Josh's. The woman smiled at me, an unsettling smile. She waved, inviting me to come inside and get out of the cold. I stopped instantly and screamed, "Josh!" There was no reply. The woman's smile faded. She clearly wasn't expecting me to yell. At that moment, I noticed the footprints doubled back. Josh had walked toward the house, then turned around and gone back into the woods. Suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps inside the house, someone coming downstairs. I ran. The woman yelled something at me, but I didn't look back until I reached the property line. The face in the upstairs window was gone. As I reached our driveway, I heard my dad whistling, our signal to come home. My dad and Josh were already there. Josh immediately told me that people inside the neighbor's house had tried to get him to go inside. I said the same thing had happened to me. My dad grabbed a weapon and went to the house. He came back later and said the owners were contacted by another neighbor. They confirmed something chilling. No one was supposed to be in that house. The owners weren't there that weekend. The police searched the place. The back door was unlocked, but no one was found. After that, we never played near that property again, and thank God neither of us went inside. I was staying at my family's cabin in Canada. It's a small lodge my grandparents built years ago, nothing fancy, but perfect for an off-grid winter escape. I planned to stay for 3 nights, and I had to travel there by snowmobile since it was deep winter. After arriving, I fired up the wood heater and unpacked my things. Within 30 minutes, I felt exactly what I came for. Slow time, quiet peace. The first night went perfectly. The next morning, I woke at sunrise, made breakfast on the wood stove, then bundled up to get more firewood. But when I opened the door, I froze. There were footprints in the snow, leading right up to the cabin. I stepped outside and looked around. The tracks continued into the woods, not toward the distant road several miles away. That meant whoever walked here did not come by snowmobile, which was impossible in winter. And worse, they must have come during the night. I would have heard them otherwise. After grabbing my wood, I debated leaving, but nothing had happened. and the cabin was hard to reach. Leaving felt like giving up for nothing. I spent hours watching through the windows, but saw nothing. Later, with the sun higher, I decided to follow the footprints into the woods to ease my mind. Maybe they led to another cabin. I walked for 20 minutes. Just one set of footprints. Nothing else. Then I heard it, a single crunch ahead. Someone had stepped. I snapped my head up. Everything was still. Snow and trees stretched endlessly. No movement. Someone was out there. They had to be hiding behind a tree, watching me. "Hello? Is someone out there?" I called. No response. No sound. My whole body broke out in goosebumps. I slowly stepped back, then turned and ran. I packed my things as fast as I could, locked the cabin, and took the snowmobile to the road. I never returned to that cabin, and I know the person I heard was the same person who approached the cabin during the night. They weren't lost. They were coming back. Every year near the end of February, my friend Justin and I go winter camping in a snowy forest. We've done tons of backpacking, but something about winter camping feels different, quiet, beautiful, peaceful. This year, we set up our tents, built a fire, and had a couple of drinks. Then we heard it. A scream. A horrifying, dark scream echoing across the forest. It lasted only a few seconds, then silence. We both jumped from our chairs, startled. Justin insisted it was an animal. I didn't think so. It sounded human. We waited. Nothing else happened as the sun went down. Later, we added more wood to the fire, made food, and relaxed. Then it came again. The same scream, much closer this time. Maybe 200 feet away. Justin and I exchanged a look. We needed to check it out before the daylight vanished. I grabbed my knife and we bundled up, stepping cautiously into the woods. We walked maybe 150 feet when we heard it again, right next to us. We froze. I looked toward the sound but saw nothing. Justin looked terrified. We waited in silence for nearly 5 minutes before he took a slow step forward. Then he stopped, rigid. I stepped up beside him and almost threw up. At our feet was a fresh deer carcass, brutally torn apart. Justin tapped my shoulder urgently. I looked up. A man stood across the forest, barely wearing any winter clothes, watching us, studying us. We didn't say a word. We backed away, then broke into a hurry, packing our camp in silence and leaving immediately. We never went back to that camping spot again, and we still don't know if the man was the one screaming, or what he would have done if we hadn't left. The day before Christmas Eve, I was doing DoorDash deliveries, hoping for good holiday tips. Around 11 p.m., I accepted a long-distance order, farther than I normally would, but I had no other orders coming in. The snow was falling lightly, the roads empty, the drive peaceful. But when I arrived, it wasn't a neighborhood. It was a narrow path into the woods, ending at a small cabin. I parked, walked up, and knocked. Inside, I heard loud chatter, multiple people talking, laughing, overlapping voices. It sounded like a full holiday party. Too many people to fit in such a small place. But something about the sound felt fake, off. Then the door opened. A man stood there, smiling, but behind him, the cabin was dark and still. No one moving, most lights off. Yet the sound of a party still played from a small room at the end of the hallway. "Why don't you bring the food inside?" he said. "They'll be happy to see you." I froze. That was a strange thing to say. I stuttered out something about leaving it at the door, but he interrupted. "They just want to thank you for working during the holidays. You'll be glad you stopped by." His voice was friendly, but his smile was wrong. Then, suddenly, the party noise cut off. Silence. The man turned his head, confused. That wasn't supposed to happen. I dropped the bag on the porch and sprinted back to my car. I drove home and didn't work again until after Christmas. Nothing happened to me, but the combination of fake party sounds, the the darkness inside, and the man insisting I enter is something I still think about. I have no idea what was actually waiting inside. The day after Christmas, I worked the overnight shift at a small family-owned grocery store. I had no clue why I was even scheduled. There wasn't much to stock. I spent the first hour filling shelves, then wandered the store. As I walked past the front window, I noticed a man standing unusually close to the building. When he saw me, he stepped closer to the glass. He didn't knock. He just stared. I felt uneasy, so I walked away, pretending not to care. When I checked again a few minutes later, he was gone. I continued straightening aisles until about 10 minutes later, I turned a corner and froze. Boxes had fallen all over the floor, heavy ones that wouldn't tip on their own. Then I heard it, a soft, deep, eerie laugh from the end of the aisle. A grown man giggling like a child. I thought about confronting him, until I remembered the man from earlier and the fact he could be hiding something under his coat. I ran to the front, out the doors, jumped into my car, and called the police. They arrived 10 minutes later, but the man was gone. Security footage showed him entering through a side door and hiding behind the aisle, laughing while holding a switchblade. They believed he was under the influence of something. Maybe, but the knife doesn't change what could have happened. If I'd walked down that aisle 5 seconds earlier, I might not be here. I've been skiing my entire life. My parents used to ski competitively, so they made sure my siblings and I learned early. A few winters ago, when I was 21 and a senior in college, my friends and I went skiing in Vermont. There were 4 of us, me, Jaden, Ryland, and Amir. The mountain was huge, with several lifts and countless trails. We were on our second day, pushing ourselves on the tougher slopes and enjoying a few fireball shooters to heighten the fun. An hour before the lifts closed, 2 helmetless girls skied up to us. One brunette, one blonde, both absolutely stunning. They introduced themselves as Taylor and Devin. They said the mountain was full of older people, and we looked closer to their age. Devin chatted with Ryland and Amir about their expensive skis. Taylor joked about our fireball, and we teased her about unlocking true ski potential. Then Devin pulled out an unmarked bottle and challenged us to try something stronger. We each took a drink, except I didn't actually swallow mine. Something about the situation felt off. The girls didn't drink at all. Not once. Devin then asked if we'd skied a trail called Devil's Forest. None of us had. She said it was an obscure glade trail through the woods. We love glade trails, so we followed the girls. We had to take off our skis and walk uphill, which already felt wrong. No real trail should require that. Jaden whispered that something wasn't right. I agreed. After a short walk, the terrain sloped down sharply. The girls insisted it led back to the lifts. Devin pulled out the bottle again and told us to finish it. Ryland and Amir took big swigs. Jaden refused at first, and Devin gave him a look, an angry, unnatural scowl, for a split second. Then she smiled again and flirted until he gave in. The bottle got to me. I pretended to drink again. We reached the start of the slope. The girls suddenly said we were wasting time and took off. Amir and Ryland chased after them. Jaden and I had no choice but to follow. When we got to the bottom, there was no lift, just more woods. I was about to demand answers when Ryland suddenly collapsed into the snow. Moments later, Amir dropped too. The girls laughed, calling them lightweights, but I felt my stomach turn. Jaden staggered and fell face first into the snow. I felt dizzy. My legs buckled. I sat down, refusing to pass out. The girls just stared at me, waiting. One of them said, "He must not have drunk enough." They unclipped Amir and Ryland's skis, grabbed them, and trudged into the woods. They didn't even try to help. Once I could move, I followed their tracks. When I reached a clearing, I saw a van parked on the road. The large men got out. The girls pointed at me. One of the men pointed directly at me. I ran. When I got back, my friends were still unconscious. Jaden woke first. We dragged Amir and Ryland up as soon as they came to. We reported everything. The mountain staff promised to look into it. The police were involved, but nothing ever came of it. To this day, we have no idea who those girls were, who the men in the van were, or what they gave us. All I know is this: they weren't trying to rob us. People don't go to that kind of trouble for skis. Something far worse could have happened. Every winter, my friends Kyle, Ricky, and I have a simple tradition: walking out onto a frozen lake a few towns over. It's peaceful, quiet, and strangely beautiful at night. We love the solitude and the surreal glow of snow under a full moon. This happened 4 months ago, in the middle of winter. It had been below freezing for weeks, so we knew the lake would be solid. Kyle drove us there after midnight. No animals, no people, just silence. When we reached the lake, Kyle threw a rock onto the ice to test it. No cracks. We stepped out and walked about 100 feet from shore. That's when we saw something moving on the far side of the lake. A large, dark figure. Slow. Hunched over. A bear, Ricky whispered. But as it came closer, something felt wrong. The posture wasn't right. The movement was human. And then we realized it was a person wearing a bear suit. Kyle muttered, "What the hell?" The man dragged something behind him, a small black bag tied to a rope. He walked onto the ice, then stopped, unzipped the bear suit, and stepped out of it. Seeing him as a regular man didn't make things less frightening. He bent down, picked up a rock, and began smashing it into the ice, over and over, trying to break through. The vibrations traveled under our feet. He was trying to dispose of whatever was in the bag. Ricky tapped my shoulder. He and Kyle were already backing up toward shore. I followed. Every crunch of snow felt loud enough to give us away. Then a voice echoed across the lake. "Hey!" We didn't look back. We ran. Once we reached the edge of the lake, we caught our breath, then hurried to the car in complete silence. Kyle drove off immediately. We argued all the way home about what we'd seen. Dump trash? No. Dump body. Also unlikely. The bag was too small. A few days ago, my mom was watching TV when a missing child report came on. The timeline matched the night we saw the man on the lake. It's probably just a coincidence, but we still reported our sighting to the police.